The day the lawyer's letter arrived, Emily's life changed. Her great-aunt, a reclusive woman she barely knew, had left her a fortune, millions in cash and property. The news stunned her. She sat at the kitchen table, staring at the document, her husband Tom across from her, his eyes wide with disbelief. Their marriage had been strained for years, a quiet drift of unspoken resentments and missed connections. The money felt like a lifeline, a chance to start over. Emily didn't hesitate long. Within weeks, she filed for divorce, craving freedom from the life that felt like a cage. Tom, heartbroken but resigned, signed the papers without a fight, and soon, she was alone, wealthy, and untethered. At first, the money was intoxicating. Emily bought a sleek apartment in the city, traveled to places she'd only seen in magazines, and filled her days with new faces and fleeting thrills. But the shine wore off quickly. The loneliness crept in, heavier than she'd expected. Friends drifted away, some envious, others unable to relate to her new life. She missed Tom's quiet presence, his dry humor, the way he'd make her coffee just right. Guilt gnawed at her. She hadn't been faithful in the final years of their marriage. A reckless fling with a coworker had been her secret shame, one she buried deep, thinking it didn't matter once the divorce was final. 5 years passed, and the emptiness grew. Emily's wealth couldn't fill the void. She wondered about Tom, where he was, how he was living. The regret over her infidelity stung sharper now, a wound that wouldn't heal. She hadn't told him, hadn't apologized, and the weight of that choice pressed on her. One sleepless night, she decided to act. She hired a private investigator, a gruff man named Harris, to find Tom. She didn't know what she'd say if they found him, but she needed to know he was okay, needed to face the past she'd run from. Harris worked quickly. Within days, he tracked Tom to a small coastal town. He was living modestly, running a bookstore, and by all accounts, seemed content. Emily's heart sank at the news. She'd imagined him struggling, maybe needing her, but he'd built a life without her. Harris handed her a photo of Tom outside his shop, smiling faintly, his hair grayer than she remembered. The sight of him stirred something deep, regret, yes, but also a longing she hadn't expected. She thanked Harris and spent days wrestling with what to do next. She drove to the coast, the photo tucked in her purse. The town was quiet, with salt air and seagulls circling overhead. She found Tom's bookstore, its windows lined with colorful spines, and hesitated at the door. Her palms were sweaty, her heart racing. What could she say? That she was sorry? That she'd betrayed him? That she'd thrown away their life for a mistake she couldn't undo? She pushed the door open, the bell jingling softly. Tom looked up from behind the counter, and for a moment, time stopped. He recognized her instantly, his face a mix of surprise and something softer, maybe sadness. They talked, haltingly at first. He was kind, asking about her life, but there was a distance in his eyes. She wanted to confess, to spill everything about the affair, to beg for forgiveness, but the words wouldn't come. Instead, she asked about his shop, his life, the town. He answered politely, but she felt the wall between them, built by years and her own choices. When she left, he wished her well, and she drove away, tears blurring the road. Back in her city apartment, Emily replayed the visit. She'd hoped for closure, maybe even a second chance, but Tom had moved on. The investigator's report sat on her table, a reminder of her failed mission. She realized her biggest regret wasn't just the infidelity, it was losing the person who'd known her best. The money, the freedom, none of it filled the space he'd left. She thought about writing him a letter, confessing everything, but doubted it would change anything. Weeks later, she started volunteering at a local library, craving purpose. She found small joys in helping others, in quiet moments shelving books or reading to kids. It wasn't a fix for the past, but it was something. She began to accept that some regrets stay with you, shaping you without defining you. Tom's smile from the bookstore lingered in her mind, a reminder of what she'd lost, but also a strange kind of hope that she could still build something new. Emily never contacted Tom again. She kept the photo, though, tucked in a drawer. It was a piece of her past she couldn't let go, a reminder to be better, to live honestly. The money was still there, but it no longer ruled her. She was learning to live with her regrets, not as burdens, but as lessons carved deep. And in that, she found a fragile peace, one she hoped Tom had found too, in his quiet bookstore by the sea.